format. I've been joined in studio by the Deputy Majority Leader and also the Member of Parliament for the Effutu constituency. Joining me here is a private legal practitioner as well, lawyer Afenyo Markin, Alexander Kwame Afenyo Markin. That's his full name, by the way. So Omenje.
Omenjeba.
You're doing very well.
You brought it onto yourself.
On what you mean?
Hey, you are slanging it. More body. More body. Oh, what ponute?
On Boato.
Mumbato.
Yeah, your people, they are happy with you.
Oh, I see. By the grace.
I saw the community center. I saw the hospital. I saw the one that's coming up in the name of the Honorable Mike Hammer. Yeah. I've seen a lot of stuff that you're doing. You're trying to build a whole city.
Yes. Effutu has a history, and for some time, we lost that glory. By the grace of God, I got onto the scene. The youngest to have the opportunity in the Fourth Republic. When I was coming in, people had their doubts. But I had a clear vision. Having been an assemblyman and a presiding member, I understood the problems. Right. And I told myself, well, just to open the chance for future young men to be in service, I should go the extra mile. And by the grace of God, we've been trying. At least we need to name projects after people who have made contributions to Effutu's development in the area of academia, politics, trade, at the family level, chieftaincy and all that, and get everybody on board.
Right.
So, yes, the health center that was commissioned this week.
Tuesday, that was it.
Yes,
right.
Honorable Samuel Owusu-Adjei.
Okay.
And then the Warababa Health Center is going to be named after Honorable Michael. And
why though? Why are you choosing your political opponent to name a project after him?
We are looking at an inclusive approach. Okay. If we say want to lay a foundation for people to rally around, and we're talking about Unity Square, we are talking about Heritage Center.
That's right.
Then we should demonstrate something for people to know that you are in service, you are serving your community, and doesn't matter the political divide. So the ICT facility at the NVTI was named after Honorable Nico Miabe. Right. He was a PNDC secretary, a PNDC secretary for the community, district chief executive then. And then we have another project coming up after Honorable Ni Ephraim. We have Captain Ama Community Library at New Winneba. Okay. And then we have the first MP, 93, Dr. Atwaye Biakwa. We did a whole surgical block. He was a medical doctor at the Winneba Government Hospital. So a whole block has been named after him. And then we have Dr. Butchie. He's not a politician. He's a medical doctor. He served the Winneba.
All signs of the Winneba area. The question is, are you not putting pressure on the other parliamentarians who, for example,
no, it's not about,
may not have the wherewithal or may not have the connections to be able to get people to say, I want to come and support?
Well, let's not talk about other parliamentarians. Let's not talk about putting pressure. Let's talk about Effutu.
Okay.
I know the dynamics in Effutu.
What is the end game?
I know
in terms of the legacy, the future, what is the end game?
You get into politics first knowing the dynamics of the area. You get into politics, you get elected, and you must roll out your vision.
Right.
For the time being, it is my considered view that I need to put in place public sector deliverables, social infrastructure as the honey to draw the ants closer, to get businesses moving. You remember my crusade on the UEW campus?
That's right.
The mainstay of that crusade was that people were not getting jobs. And we thought the university could provide that platform for entrepreneurs to tap into. I mean, they do a lot of procurement. And then we also felt that the university could also partner us to do social intervention programs like modern libraries and all that. But here we are. I would say that I lost that battle because the university sees itself as it being a Biafra republic.
Autonomous.
And if you want to talk, it's as though you want to politically interfere. So I've given up that battle. It's okay. But I believe that in the fullness of time, men of reason will now come to realize that Markin wasn't asking too much. So for instance, we say that university must have its corporate social responsibility program, that in a year you would want to support a project in the community. They have a zero. The whole UEW is zero. Then service delivery. We were saying that, look, there must be local entrepreneurs who must be supported. Because as it is, if the students are not there, the town is empty. And if you have all the businessmen coming from outside and you cannot grow local industry, you don't create the opportunity for business to thrive. Because you come to Winneba, I say to you that there are no jobs. Really? The young men, your WhatsApp message, they come. We want factory. We want this. They have high expectations.
You should have one district, one factory there.
You
should have one district, one factory.
Well, we are focusing on service delivery, not the factory properly so-called.
Okay.
We believe that with the educational facility there, we can strategically position ourselves as a public sector infrastructure destination.
Okay.
Get a lot of public sector projects in there. Get people, population to grow. So the housing deficit is very critical. We are looking at it. Then draw in the tourism factor. So that is why if you go to the runabout, we have the reconciliation runabout, JB Dankwa and Kwame Nkrumah. We are telling the whole story.
Okay.
You drive into the city, you come and meet Unity Square, then down to Copa Junction, Osimpam Heritage Center. We have many more of these to do.
I know. Well, you have done well. That's what I will say. And your people are happy with you.
Well, by grace.
So,
the
I'll come for some more Effutu lessons.
Well, the one who taught you, flies your Effutu for you.
I won't tell you who, by the way.
I know, there's an Effutu man here, I know.
Let's get into Parliament. What are expectations for this year?
Well, last year wasn't too good. We didn't end well. I'm sure this year we are determined to make it better. Engage each other more. Those brows and things that were on TV, I think where Ghana has gotten to, we don't have to create that impression of ourselves, especially in Parliament. We agree to disagree. And I think that the way to go is to tolerate each other. We've been in opposition before. There were serious matters that we disagreed, but we never went physical. And I believe that our colleagues on the other side will not repeat some of these things again, that going physical, trying to attack, whatever. There are a lot of tools available for you as a parliamentarian. If you disagree, the rules book allow you to take certain steps. Again, you can also go to court to look at, strong points that you think that as a matter of law, the court should look into. That is the only way we can enrich our democracy, with respect. So we are engaging each other. And if you heard Mr. Speaker in his opening address to us, I think he set a tone, that to the extent that he says he takes responsibility as the head of the institution. So, yes, what happened was not too good, but we look forward to...
But what do you think brought about that confusion? Because we come to Parliament, we see in the lobby, you share meals, you share conversations, pleasantries and all of that. Your brothers call yourself bro, honorable and all of that. What could have sparked that?
Well, I can't speak for those who initiated the brow. So I would say that in a democracy, you don't allow these things, or you don't proceed on that path to express your disagreement. As to why they did that, it is for them to answer. But I think that it was really needless. I mean, when we had issue earlier on, we walked out quietly. When we came back and we wanted to consider the budget, and they also had some disagreement, they walked out quietly. They didn't even come in. Now we're going to vote, and the Deputy Speaker had expressed a view that, look, to the extent that he remains a member of Parliament, and to the extent that the Constitution has not expressly prohibited him, he's going to exercise his right to vote.
What does the standing order
What I'm saying is that, yes, the standing order does not prohibit
it supports him.
The standing orders and the Constitution. That's why even that day, when my respected learned colleague, Dr. Ayeni, argued solely on the standing orders, I stood up and expressed surprise that for the first time in the jurisprudence of the House, I'm hearing a respected learned colleague talking about standing orders and abandoning the Constitution.
But Parliament is the master of its own rules.
Well, our rules are subservient to the Constitution. The Constitution takes precedence.
That's right.
But that notwithstanding, I again submit that even the standing orders that book does not deny the first Deputy Speaker or a Deputy Speaker of his right to vote. Let's put that.
That's a thorny subject.
So,
so for example, let's say that, yes, 2 days ago I interviewed the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. I've heard the first Deputy Speaker also make comments to suggest that you will all have to vote if you want that simple majority, for example, to pass, say, the e-levy. Honorable Haruna Idrisu insists that if you are in the chair and you, for example, do a head count or call for a division, which you called for the other time, then the person presiding cannot vote. That's the bone of contention.
Bro, let's not belabor the point. The matter is at the Supreme Court. Let's wait.
Right.
I don't want to repeat myself.
Okay.
Let's wait for the court to
verdict of the
interpret.
Supreme
But I may have to refer you to Gojoga Adra. I did that case. You know, Article 94 2B has a list of some prohibitions.
Right.
So if you are a member of the Judicial Service, you are with Customs, you are with the Ministry of Education, etc., you are not to take partisan card or be in partisan politics and all that. At a point, I had my problem with that provision, that it seemed to limit any scope. So I went up to the Supreme Court for interpretation. And my contention was that, look, other public sector, other public servants should be included. Because, for instance, if you look at Ghana Education Service and Ministry of Education, these officers are one and the same in real terms. But if the Constitution makes mention of the Ministry of Education,
right,
and leaves out Ghana Education Service, then the Constitution is being discriminatory, and that all those should be included. And also, if you go to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, they have been prohibited. But if you work at Ghana Highway Authority, you are allowed to have a partisan card. The Supreme Court unanimous decision through my Lord Bafuboni disagreed with me and said if the Constitution had intended to prohibit those other public servants, it would have said so.
Right.
And the next day, the Ghanaian Times was Afenyo Markin dismissed, banner headline. I'm saying that we went through all of these. And Honorable Dr. Ayeni disagreed with me. He was a Deputy Attorney General. We argued in court, and I lost that case. With that precedence in mind, I now get surprised that for partisan purpose, somebody who argued against me will now change position. Because, you see, the mainstay of their
You want the
contention,
principles to apply.
obviously, what has changed? The mainstay of the argument is that, look, the Constitution prohibits, Mr. Speaker. And that to them, to the extent that that prohibition is there, it applies mutatis mutandis to the Deputy Speaker. And I say no. On the basis of the principle in Kojoka Adra, once the Constitution did not expressly mention them, you cannot add them. That is what
I see.
the judges told us.
We're told that the Speaker is due for medical review. It will go on the 29th. He will not be in, obviously, when it had been intended for the e-levy to be laid, the bill to be laid. What do you see?
Frankly, I am not aware. I'm in leadership.
Okay.
The majority controls government business. The majority leadership is in charge of government business. I believe that travel arrangement of Mr. Speaker would be made known to us. I don't know.
Okay.
This morning, I had an engagement with my boss before coming here.
Okay.
He doesn't appear to officially have knowledge of this. But I believe whatever arrangement Mr. Speaker has by way of medical review or whatever, he would brief us. And then we would know what to do as a house. But for now, I am unaware of that.
Mr. Joseph Wusu, First Deputy Speaker, seems to not, in his own words, he cannot trust the Speaker to help in the delivery of government's agenda. You are, as majority, in charge of government business. But he says the way the Speaker is conducting himself, he cannot trust. You know, and all of you must vote and all of that.
See,
what are your own? Should I play the video? Should I play the video?
I mean, you see, a political statement must be understood in its context.
Okay.
All right. When a deputy speaker among his peers says that, look, we have a number 138. Trust in that context must not be construed in the negative sense.
Okay.
Because I was there.
Help me, right?
Yeah, sure. You see, when somebody says that, you cannot trust somebody to be doing your bidding for you, that you have government business. Colleagues, try and be present in the chamber and let's do government business. Instead of perhaps thinking that somebody else will facilitate it for you. Simplicity. Don't.
So that was the context.
I'm saying that yes. Don't read meaning outside of this. I was there. That basically was his contention. He did not mean that Mr. Speaker is not trustworthy or that Mr. Speaker... After all, Mr. Speaker has no role to play in terms of the voting on the House floor. All right? So the language used, that phraseology must not be misconstrued. He was using it in context that you cannot trust Speaker to do government business. No, that's exactly the point he was making. And that come in your numbers. If you are there and you are voting, then you are there and you are voting.
But that will be tough given the fact that you have 7 MPs who are also 7 ministers of state. The president wants them to do more.
Yes, I agree. So that is why his point must be understood in the context as I put it.
Okay.
So who would have to arrange? If you control government business, you determine when a particular matter must be, decided.
Tabled, right.
So then we take a decision and use the inner workings of the House to determine it. So I think that's about it.
Consensus building has become topical. Say, let's find the middle ground. Do you see that happening? Do you see that there's fertile ground for consensus to be built?
Look, I have to be honest here. We've had the best of cooperation from our colleagues. We are a political class with our own ideologies.
Okay.
And Johnny, you should expect that we're also in competition. The NDC minority in parliament, with all due respect, they've done what they are supposed to do. I mean, because we've done a number of things by consensus.
Okay.
All right? A number of things. You should expect that on very sensitive matters, they will disagree. Me, my only problem I had with them was the brow, the physical, that people were attacking. But apart from that, what else do you expect opposition to do or minority to do? Because 2024 is just right there. All right? We are bringing e-levy. You know, first, they supported us to approve the budget.
Right.
The appropriation.
The estimate.
We did the, yes. Estimate, all of us participated. We finally did the appropriation. The committee brought a report by consensus, unanimous. On the House floor, by consensus, we approved the appropriation. Now it's gotten to the legislation, and that is where, again, I have a problem with them. You agree to e-levy as a policy, but you disagree with e-levy by way of legislation.
Is that why the majority leader said it's already been passed? And that's why they are saying, well, then implement it.
Well, but you need the enabling act. You need the law.
Which they are refusing to partner.
Well, so that is where I am coming to your point. That as a matter of principle, their party is of the view that no more taxation. Okay? That is their principle. Then at a point, they also came to realize that, look, government still needs money to do business. So they came out with this 1% that they will go with us if it is 1%. But they had to do 360, U-turn, because their constituents were like, hey, we want zero tolerance. So you realize that when we're building consensus and they were getting on board, they had their own internal problem that, look, you said no from day one, so there's nothing like even 1%. So remember that they checking out on the 1%. And we were at 1.75, and the finance minister engaged the telcos and got some deal there, and the telcos were ready to lower their charges, so we got some 0.25, meaning that the net effect of the 1.75 was now 1.5.
But Haruna Idrisu insists that, look, for example, Vodafone wasn't charging anybody for that.
MTN controls over 80% of the market.
So that if you say that you're trying to take credit that belongs to the telcos,
well, but it was negotiated. It was based on discussion. But anyway, we are now back to the e-levy. We are saying that two main things form the basis for the introduction of the e-levy are roads and job creation. Roads is a major concern. Johnny, here I want you to join the crusade. I've watched you. I've watched you. Sometimes our people disagree with you, but I mean, I understand some of your approach. I mean, sometimes we take a hard bite. It helps us as politicians. You have complained about roads. It's not easy. I'm a road fan. The number of Goro boys in the system moving around certificates. People have worked, they have to be paid. There's no money. Government is getting 6 million a month from road tolls. What can 6 million do? Sometimes we have money we can't disburse, 30 million. You don't know who to pay. So a new system is being introduced. A system that would allow for regular, sufficient, reliable inflow. Government has identified this as a low-hanging fruit. That, look, let's all tap into it and see how we can use the revenue thereof to solve the road.
But the general masses of the people,
Johnny, I need to finish.
This is too hard.
Johnny, I need to finish. Sorry about that. Two, the many youth who are crying. If I open my WhatsApp, many youths who are asking for jobs.
NAPCO.
Now, we need to create an entrepreneurial environment to allow for those who want to do their private business to go in there. How many can walk into the banks and get loans? In advanced democracies where industrialization is key, they support businesses with grants. When you are having a factory and you are paying 30%, somebody is getting 1%. So government is saying that, look, this you start. We want to now support the youth from the district to the region, to the national level. Make conscious effort to create a new crop of entrepreneurs. Somebody needs 50,000. Somebody needs 40,000. And these young men, they have a lot of ideas. Now, the issue is the trusts. People are saying that, oh, can we trust government to utilize this and utilize it without unnecessary wastes in the system?
So, for example, the Auditor General's report for 2020
so let's deal with
we lost 12 billion.
Let's deal with
you acknowledge that at the retreat, and you said that, look, there's some mischief that's been played, but there are also genuine
exactly. I mean,
that
very
tax utilization and mobilization must be synchronized.
So, Johnny, that is why you and I must move away from the attack on the political class and look at the construct holistically by dealing with system failures.
But don't you think that, for example, an utterance by Honorable Dr. Stephen Amo, MP for Nshes, who said that we will pass it and they can't do anything and we are in government? I mean, he said that.
Johnny,
he said that.
Johnny,
he said that.
I don't think you want to introduce.
I'm sure you've seen the tape.
John.
There's sometimes the posture, Afenyo, the posture
John
doesn't aid.
John, can we make progress?
We are making progress. I'm asking you, the posture, does it not, for example, railroad this good process you're asking for? And I thought you made very solid points at the retreat that, yes, there may be mischief, but there are critical points that have been raised that we need to look at, and we need to harmonize tax mobilization utilization. Then you leave the retreat, and he makes that statement against what majority of Ghanaians say we are not too happy about. I don't want to play the tape because you may not be too excited about it.
You know, when you want to follow politicians and their communication, you must always appreciate the context. So sometimes if you don't contextualize and you take it out of context, it could create problems. But that notwithstanding.
It was very clear.
I'm saying that notwithstanding.
It was clear.
Johnny, you want to divert.
No, I want your opinion on that.
You want to divert.
No, I want your opinion on that matter.
On what?
On Honorable Stephen Amoa's stance.
John, the Baptist, right? The Baptist, all right?
You're patronizing me.
Okay, sure. John, this morning, I'm here as a deputy leader.
Right. And what is your position?
To say that the e-levy is a necessary levy to solve two major problems. And government should be trusted by way of how these funds will be applied. Listen, when we were in opposition, when we didn't know about e-levy, we said certain things as a party in opposition.
That's right.
With things our friends in government were like, you are in opposition, you don't know. So these are mere political talk. What were some of these? One was free SHS. Two was one district, one factory. Three, party for food and jobs. Let me limit myself to these three for the time being.
Right.
Now, when we got power in 2016, 2017, government did not delay in the implementation of the free SHS.
Right.
Even so, there were a lot of taxes that government had to simply forfeit. NDC had introduced some taxes, some levies. Government, if you look at the 2017-2018 budget, there were a lot of taxes that government had to forgo. Say, look, we can't do this. To the extent that our friends in the NDC were even telling us, hey, if you take away all these taxes, how would you govern? You remember?
I remember. Right.
Good. Fairness. You are a fair man. Good man. Handsome. Done well. Now.
You're patronizing.
No, I'm not. But we are having a healthy conversation.
I understand.
When it's good, you say it. When it's bad, you say it.
I understand.
But your emphasis when it's good is low. So I just wanted you to echo that.
I just said the good things you do in your constituency.
Well, that's not Afenyo Markin. We're talking about the government. So, Johnny, the point is that even the point of taking away the nursing training allowance, teacher training allowance, we criticize our colleagues.
Right.
They say, no, there was no money in the kitty. So President Mahama said, look, he needed to allow them to pay for themselves. Let's come to electricity and water. This is a fact. Ghanaians were asking for reduction. President Mahama said, no, it's difficult. The production cost was high. Now we came in without introducing any new tax. We reduced electricity tariffs. domestic 17% plus, industrial up to 32%. The facts are there, the records are there. We didn't introduce tax to do this. Now, fast forward. Government was making gains. Then COVID came in. When COVID came in, all your sources of inflow are getting affected. So you are in a tight corner. In the heat of this COVID, you're also supposed to provide social services. So like you introduce free water, the very people who are the lowest ebb of fortune's wheel need your support. So what do you do?
But we are paying for those.
I'm coming to the point.
We borrowed for
I
those.
agree. I'm making a point. Even borrowing has become expensive. The opposition in parliament says, look, government, you are getting to an unsustainable level. You can't be borrowing. Now Eurobond is very expensive.
That's right.
Okay? If you are not careful, some people are even saying that if care is not taken, you may have to go back to the IMF. And we know what it means when you go to the IMF. You freeze employment. It means that the situation is going to get worse. We know what happened to the NDC. So what government is saying is that in spite of all of this, Ghanaians, it's difficult to ask this. It's difficult to ask this. But please, trust me to put these monies to good use. We are in a difficult situation. We can't be borrowing. By the way, government has two sources of generating income, revenue. Domestic
revenue.
You get taxation, grants, loans.
Right.
Loans, grants, and whatnot, they are in one category. Taxation is another category. If you take more loans, you get criticized that if you are taxing to his burden, it's a huge burden on Ghanaians. So you are caught in between the devil and the deep
but it's
sea.
a question of trust, like you're saying.
So let's deal with that one.
How do you propose
So
that Ghanaians will trust you now?
very well.
Because, see, they're looking at how much you've borrowed, how much you've collected in taxes, and they say, we can't see what you say you have done with those for us. You know,
Come on.
I mean,
Yes,
word on the
Johnny,
street.
Johnny.
So now, how do you propose to engender that trust?
Johnny, you see, may I say sometimes it's a communication.
Okay.
But today, Johnny, please do a documentary for me. Go to all the 47 NVTIs we have in this country. In Effutu, Winneba. We had our NVTI in 1980. From that day till Akufo-Addo came into office, no single infrastructure was ever added. Quote me. Now, Akufo-Addo today, they have 2 hostels completed. They have a new B&C workshop fully equipped. Come to Winneba and take pictures, take videos. They have a new office complex, fully furnished. I spoke to my good friend Ohine Japan. He said he didn't know that his own backyard, that was what was happening. So he has asked some people to go and take videos. That even in Fosu, the NVTI, fully equipped, new infrastructure. I'm saying this is across board.
So you're saying there's evidence to show that you're using the money well.
Of course.
So then why are the people complaining?
Well, I can't take that away from them as concerns that they have. Because some way, somehow, you can also see some leakages in the system. If you see Auditor General's reports, and there are complaints about waste, you have every cause to be angry.
They say the president should stop traveling. The president should cut down his expenses. The ruling class should show the people that they are also sacrificing. Cut your salaries. Article 71 holders, look at your emoluments again, your ex-gratia. These are demands that the people are making on the streets.
Okay, thank you. Again, the impression is being created as though Article 71 is only the political class. The judiciary is part of Article 71.
All right. DCE says part.
I'm saying the judiciary is part of Article 71.
That's right.
All right? So...
Council of State, they're part of it.
No, so, you see, let's help situate the construct right. I agree that tightening of belts should start from the elite in society. I agree. I also agree that we must have verifiable systems in place to demonstrate that, look, we care and that those who are paying must not say that these people are taking us for granted. I agree. How do we do it? That is why you are there, Johnny. That is why you, when you do your criticism, when you do your videos, I won't get angry. Because you are pinching me. That's it up. So if all of us will come to that realization that the media, civil society, investigative journalists, to the extent that they are pointing out errors in society, they are pointing out the ills of society, we, the political class with the power to govern, must take advantage and say, let us correct the situation. So I think that we shouldn't overly say that, oh, things are generally wrong in the system. So because of that, we let the system, collapse.
The minority, for example, is saying that, look, we have approved your budget in its entirety.
Yes.
Save the e-levy. You don't have an ally to help you activate your rights under the law to impose the e-levy.
Yes.
They say, look, that small chunk you're asking for will not solve all the problems you are listing. Yes. At least we have given you everything else you have added but the e-levy. So go with it.
So we should look for money to finance the road sector, and then the Youth Start program, which means we should go and borrow. I beg to disagree. We are saying that let's internally generate. I think that it will be the biggest good news for our contractors, the biggest good news for our youth, if we start rolling this out and Ghanaians see that a contractor does not delay. And road contractors, the number of people they employ, all categories. Okay? The laborer, the artisan, the engineer, the technician, they employ all of these. And when they get the jobs, within the period, they take a lot of people out of their homes and give them jobs. So it means that if we are regularly paying those involved in that sector, our roads, yes, will be fixed, we'll be happy. People would have money in their pocket and they will be happy with government.
It does appear that the consultations were not extensive. I remember that when I was in Parliament towards the latter part of last year, one of the reasons Mr. Kenoforiata had come to Parliament on the day the vote was supposed to be put was that he wanted some more time to consult.
Yes, please.
Now, even though it was against your practice where the leaders had to make their closing thoughts known and then the vote will be taken, a strong point was made from your side and he was allowed to speak.
Yeah.
Now, it does appear that during the Christmas and New Year holidays, time was not taken to make those consultations. In fact, yesterday, the mobile money operators were also raising concerns and saying that we have not been consulted as key stakeholders. I know that the majority is meeting the minority today.
No, the finance minister.
The finance minister is meeting the majority today.
The minority.
The minority. Why couldn't we do those consultations?
No,
and why now? And for example, what are we now going to discuss now that the cat is out of the bag?
No, it can't be. In politics, you don't say never. You don't give up on the situation. You continue to engage. So yes, if it didn't happen yesterday and it's happening today, the value is the same. To the extent that you have shown good faith. And this afternoon, I'll be part of a team that will be going to Koforidua to further engage. Right. So, for the engagement process, we will not stop. Yes, it's also good for government to do this. If government has shut the doors and say, well, we don't care, then that's a different thing. But look at it. Even the percentage, and you followed my own opening remarks. I said that boldly to colleagues that from all we're hearing, Ghanaians expect some reduction.
Right.
Ghanaians expect some reduction. If you interview people, even our colleagues in Parliament, they think that we need it. Of course, they are not ready to share the political risk with us. I agree. Initially, they wanted to share the political risk, but they took a political decision that no, stay where you are. That's fine.
Without consulting their constituents.
Well, I don't want to.
Well, but that is your job. You represent us. If you don't consult us before
saying that
you take a hard stance, it's problematic.
For now, we are taking full political responsibility, and we are taking that risk. But we need to engage them. We need to explain to the people that just as we successfully rolled out free SHS. Just as we didn't impose additional taxation to do free SHS. We are telling you that this levy is a necessary levy to help us out of the situation we find ourselves.
I see. Let's listen to Dr. Bawumia quickly on what his thoughts were on taxing savings, for example. Take a listen.
Savings. There was a 1% imposition on savings, which was later withdrawn.
Investments,
on
yes.
investments, which was later. I mean, even to think about it was
well, it's been suspended.
Yeah, well, it's been suspended. I mean, but even to think about it.
Oh, it's now abolished, is it? Okay, good.
Yeah, but even to think about it, it doesn't. It just questions who are making these policies. I mean,
but isn't it just another way?
Another way of raising revenue.
Well, yes,
but when you become desperate, this is what happens. That when you've mismanaged the economy into this hole, then anything sounds great to you because you don't have any option. You see what I mean? And this is the problem, that anything that is taxable, that can feasibly be taxed, they are trying to impose taxes on it, increasing withholding, taxes on withholding, and so on. All of this are.
That's Vice President Dr. Bawumia when he was a running mate for Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Thanks to Joy FM for that video. So, is the government desperate now? These were the words of Vice President Bawumia. Is the government in a desperate place?
Governments all over the world are facing a situation where they have to find a way of giving comfort to their people. Nobody expected COVID. Look at our growth. Proud to COVID. Something that has never ever been achieved before. And even the situation we find ourselves, inflation. When things were okay, we saw what others could do. In the heat of all the happenings, government has managed to sustain all its social intervention programs. Not a single one of them has been cancelled. All right? What government is saying is that there is a choice out there to borrow or to generate revenue.
Right.
In all of this discussion, I don't think, Johnny, any of us would try to say that government doesn't need revenue. Where from the pressure to build social infrastructure, the pressure to build schools. We see videos of schools under trees. We see videos of children not having desks. In my own constituency, people send me videos of children not having laptops or desktops to learn ICT. All these things come at a cost. The e-levy is a levy that is non-discriminatory, that all of us who are patronizing electronic transactions should make a contribution. Now, I don't want to get into some comparison here. The kind of metaphor that Dr. Bawumia was creating must not be misunderstood. At the time that our colleagues in the NDC were in government, and the kind of decisions that they were doing, and the kind of situation that they found themselves, and the discussions that were happening then, were very clear to him. Now look, you could do it better. Now, the NDC, tell us, can they tell us what their alternative is in all of these? Because, look, we don't just criticize for the sake of it. You are a government in waiting. You've been in power before. The NDC has had 8 years plus 8 years, 16 years. If you add PNDC, 19 years to it, they've had a great opportunity. But today, you cannot mention a single social intervention program that they introduced, implemented successfully. They have none. We have. And we are saying that we have challenges. They should tell us that in the heat of COVID, what different would they do?
Because they borrow locally. ISE has endorsed that point.
So you'll be crowding out.
Borrow locally.
Oh, you'll be crowding out the private sector. Borrow locally to do what? So if you are borrowing, well, my simple understanding is that so you go for T-bills. You know what that means? Ghanaians will now give their money to government. And government would pay a high price for it. So there will be no business. So you'll be telling Johnny that, Johnny, if you have 50,000, go and buy treasury bill. Government is going to pay you 21%. Don't do a small poultry farm there. Don't get into farming. Don't give that money out to a sister who wants to do mobile money business or want to sell cards or wants to do provision store. But rather go and put it at the bank. Is that the new era we want to create for ourselves? I beg to disagree.
Okay. I know that you have a 2 p.m. appointment today. We'll talk about that in wrapping up. But quickly, what's the business for today? The minority leader, sorry about that, had indicated to me that they would resist any effort to sneak the e-levy in. Now we know that it's been set for what, 1st February? Is that it? Or is it today?
Johnny.
Yes, sir.
If I have to respond to every political statement made, I wouldn't be a good politician. All right? Some punchlines are there to bait, and some punchlines are traps. And I should know how certain politicians operate. So let's leave it there.
If you had a chance to meet NAPCO beneficiaries this morning who have not been paid for about 5 months, what would you say to them?
First, my empathy, and second, assure them that if you've been on a program for 2 years, a year, 3 years, and you've been paid all these months, and you have 5 months outstanding, then there's an issue. Have patience whilst government takes steps to resolve and get you paid. Because obviously, yes, I agree. They have every legitimate right to complain, and even so that the program is being terminated, they would have every cause to complain. But the hope for them is this you start, because not all our graduates can be absorbed in the public sector. So the hope for them is a you start. This e-levy that is coming up is going to create a new platform of opportunity for many of them who have their own initiatives to do their own business. So let's all collectively support it. But I believe that government has heard them, and if they are not talking about 1 year allowance in arrears, they are not talking about 6 months, and they are talking about 5 months, obviously it will be worked on and they will be paid.
Is Ghana broke?
Well, COVID came unannounced. The world over, governments have had serious challenges with their finances. Ghana is no exception. Mighty America has serious challenges. Mighty UK. The European Union is lucky because they are pulling resources here and there. They are trying to support those who have challenges.
But is Ghana broke?
The whole world is in peril. Businesses have gone down. If almost 6 months, there were a lot of travel restrictions, businesses shut down. And even now, there are travel restrictions.
Is Ghana broke?
And such a situation does not create wealth.
Then Ghana is broke.
I am saying that the situation we find ourselves all over the world. No nation can boast of being wealthy
Is Ghana
or getting richer.
Is Ghana broke?
I have answered you.
Your answer was a sentence. Is Ghana broke?
The question is, in the midst of COVID, can any nation have sufficient resources to develop?
Do you agree with
Our businesses?
Fitch's rating of the economy as B minus?
I have not heard of Fitch rating.
You have not heard of
I
Fitch
have not.
rating?
You are
at all.
telling me. But if they have their own rating, it is their own perception about what they see.
Okay.
And I can't take that away from them.
Corruption perception index. You've seen that.
My
We are
brother.
stuck. They say we are stuck.
My brother, I won't come and sit here and pretend on certain realities. We have a general problem, institutional problems in the country. Any serious democracy should expect it. However, when these things come up, we don't have to pretend that they don't exist, but we must take steps, proactive steps, to work together to minimize, eradicate. So if somebody says that there is corruption, it's not for me to come and say, oh, there is no corruption just because I am in government. I should first listen to the person and ask him for the details. Yes, corruption perception index. Which areas did you concentrate on? Again, you and I know that anytime the word corruption is used, the first victim or the first culprit is the politician. All right?
Right.
So we have oversimplified it and we allow a lot of things to go away. You've been listening to PAC hearings, Public Account Committee hearings. Most of the things that come up, you know where they come from.
Go and sin no more.
So let us look at how to strengthen our institutions and continue to work at them to deal with issues of waste and to ensure that whatever resources that we get is not the politician alone who is in this governance structure. All of us
But
collectively.
the buck stops with the politician,
I agree.
the leadership.
I agree. That is why the heat must be on us. At the same time, let's look at the value chain and see how collectively we'll deal with it.
I thank you very much. Alexander Afenyo Markin has been my guest. He's the Member of Parliament for the Effutu constituency. He's also the Deputy Majority Leader in Ghana's Parliament.
Johnny, thank you
this
for
afternoon, 2 p.m., we'll be in Kofredia, right? Kofredia,
please.
right, for the town hall meeting. The MPP has a town hall meeting. We will listen and we will dissect, bisect, and trisect, hopefully. But